Hello and welcome to Edison TV. Today I'm joined by Tom Pay and Celso Zuccollo, founder and chief executive officer, respectively, of Waymap. Waymap is a privately held business which offers an app for very high accuracy location, both indoors and outdoors. The company was founded and started providing the service for visually impaired people, but has now broadened its scope to offer solutions for a wide range of venues. Venues include the Washington Metro, the LA Metro, and Lord's Cricket Ground, for example. Tom, many thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
And can you start by introducing us to Waymap? Can you talk about how you came across the idea and how the company was started off?
Applied to Google.org, got $1 million grant, and we were asked to go out and change the world, and we did. So we went around and we talked to thousands of disabled people around the world. And from that came the modern idea of Waymap. So what we found was that there was no technology out there that was accurate enough, not just to guide blind people, who are the super hard case here, but also people who didn't have any visual problem. The second thing was that any technology that was out there had to have infrastructure. And that was a real barrier to entry because you had to hang Bluetooth beacons up, do all sorts of stuff. So I came up with the idea. What we wanted was an app that worked on a mobile phone, that worked indoors and outdoors, that it operated to up to 1 meter accuracy and 10-degree heading accuracy. And the hard bit actually of all of this was that it had to have it had to operate if there was no signal. So in other words, if your mobile phone provider lost you, we didn't. And so was born Waymap. And we did our first trial in LA about 5-6 years ago. And hey, it worked. And we've been growing ever since.
Celso, many thanks for joining me today. Can you start by discussing and describing how the technology works? What is unique about the technology platform that you operate?
So Dan, thank you very much for having myself and Tom today. Diving into the technology, as Tom alluded to, what we realized we needed to build was something that was truly signal free for the user and indeed worked without any infrastructure for the built environment. So what we do, which is proprietary and unique to Waymap, is we use the 4 sensors that are built into your everyday smartphones on both Android and iOS today. And we take the raw information from those and pass them through a suite of algorithms we call Smart Step, which works out at a very high level 2 things: step length and step direction. And what that means is without any external signals, we can follow people as they move through any part of the built environment, outdoor, indoor, or indeed even deep underground, as they move around using just what's built into the smartphone. And that is truly unique, proprietary, and as you know, we're using that for indoor navigation today, but there's a whole bunch of different features and services we are looking to build in the future off of what really is, the infrastructure layer. I see it, kind of like GPS has done outdoor for the indoor world.
And what was the moment where people realized that this wasn't just an app for the visually impaired, that you could actually use this for indoor navigation for everyone?
Well, I knew that the technology was going to cost so much money that if you wanted to get people to invest in it, there had to have a commercial angle to it. It couldn't be just another tool for disabled people, right? So what we did was I figured out that actually, people want to navigate in cities, not because they just want to navigate. They want to go from their home to the cheese counter in the supermarket. They couldn't do that. They wanted to go from their office to the seat in the theater. They couldn't do that.
Great. And who was your first client? And who was the first person to realize the potential of this and deploy this?
We went to Los Angeles, which is a great city for creativity, and it allows you to think big. And they've been a long-time supporter, and they've helped us to develop ever since. But the real people that grabbed it was WMATA, the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. And they just thought, their ambition was to be the best metro system in the United States. They've just won it, by the way, and we were part of their success story. And they grabbed it, and it's now out across over 100 stations and 11,000 bus stops. The other thing that we were able to prove working with WMATA was that this just isn't a nice to have. This actually saves money, right? So, for instance, in Washington, they spend about 12% of their annual budget providing specialist transport for disabled people called paratransit. And that is about $120 million a year. We believe that, and it's starting to happen, that about 10% of disabled people would actually prefer to use fixed route transit. And that means that there's a potential saving. And if they can take that number of people off paratransit and get an increase of 1%, just 1% in their ridership, because this improves the convenience, then the CO2 emissions in Washington is about 240,000 tons of CO2 a year saved. So, hey, not only does this help disabled people to get around, but it is a real winner as well, commercially and ecologically.
Get you. And turning to more the commercial side, you've secured some quite sort of high-profile clients in Washington Metro, LA Metro, Lord's Cricket Ground, and now you're targeting other sectors. Can you talk about the vertical markets for your solution and which ones you're targeting on?
Yeah, good question, Dan. So we grew up in transport, which is a difficult vertical to grow up in, but it's created a great set of calling cards for us, working with organizations like the Washington DC Metro, the Los Angeles Metro, and indeed a few metro operators out in Asia, means that we've got real credibility as an organization right now. But our technology extends far beyond just rail. So we have some clients coming up in the retail environment in the UK and beyond, in hospitals. We've got a first sports stadium, as you talked about, with Lord's Cricket Ground, looking to expand that into football, which I think is a really interesting environment for our technology. But inherently, any venue that is large scale and has a number of people who are unfamiliar with the space is a great target for our technology. So we're in 140 plus venues today across 11 plus cities, but we're looking to be in thousands, tens of thousands in the future.
Interesting. So how big have you sized your addressable market? How big do you see your addressable market as being?
Yeah, so according to a lot of the literature out there, the market is around 40-50 billion US per annum. But what we've done, because our technology and approach is fundamentally new, we've actually done a bottom-up market sizing, and we've built that around Washington, DC, which is our flagship city, where we've calculated the total number of venues that there are in the city where our technology makes sense. And you're looking at large-scale venue-wise, over 1,200 buildings in that city alone. But once you start to include some of the smaller venues, which we think are, like reasonably sized malls, etc., you're looking at over 5,000 buildings. So you extrapolate 5,000 potential customers in one city across the whole world, and we think the market's actually a lot bigger.
Very interesting. And so what is your operational model, your business model? When you engage with a new customer, can you talk about the implementation cycle and also how they pay you? Is it a recurring revenue? Is it one-off? And so on?
Our business model is relatively simple. We charge two fees: an upfront fee to come in and create the digital maps that we need. So when we engage with a new customer, we work with partners around the world who go in and capture LiDAR information. So we create essentially a 3D digital model of their venue that's useful beyond just navigation purposes. It's useful for fire safety, asset audits, etc. And there's a lot of legislation globally actually that is proving a tailwind for us, like Martin's Law, for example, that's coming up in the UK, that is mandating extra safety requirements for public venues. So basically, at a high level, a lot of venues are having themselves scanned for other purposes, which is a tailwind for us. And thereafter, it's a license fee, recurring revenues. And look, that's really where we want to play, to be a true software platform for indoor navigation, but also indoor location-based products, services, features, etc.
Interesting. And can you talk about your channels to market? Is it direct sales? Do you work through partners? How do you go to market?
So at the moment, we are direct selling and we have a few partners around the world. We also have a very unique offering, which means that our order book and kind of inbound portfolio has never required us to build a major sales team. We are at the moment in fundraising mode because we realize that the scale of the opportunity is very big and we're looking to build out that commercial team. But being unique as a product offering, we've been quite fortunate to have really inbound interest from all over the world.
Right, and then in terms of the future milestones of the business, can you talk about those both from a technical standpoint and a commercial standpoint? What should people be looking for to track your progress over the next 12 months, 24 months, and so on?
So we are looking from a commercial standpoint, not to just build breadth in terms of our client base, but also depth. And what I mean by that is, in a city like London, for example, the more venues we have signed up to Waymap, the more powerful the user experience becomes to you who might download our application and use it across rail, retail, sports stadia, etc. So that depth part is really important. And as more people obviously on board to the application, it becomes more valuable to venues. So there's a network effect there that we are looking to push. And that obviously is more the commercial side of things. On the technical side of things, today we are very much about navigation. We also are very much about accessibility-led navigation. So we're looking to build in more features to make our product more usable for individuals that have specific requirements beyond the mass market use case. So people with early onset Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever it might be, we want to have truly a universal product that works for everybody. And going beyond navigation, there's really exciting things you can do in the space of fire safety, emergency evacuation, first responder services, because we have a high quality map of the venue. We have a really accurate location algorithm, and a lot of the other features are relatively easier to build once you have that information.
That's interesting. So lots of different ways to take the technology within your existing client base. Can you talk about the fundraise? How much are you planning to raise? And can you talk about the deployment of capital? What are you looking to deploy the capital into?
Yeah, good question. So at the moment we are raising £2.5 million, which is a bridge to our Series A/B, depending on obviously where the metrics fall. And what we are looking to do, as I alluded to earlier, is really build out the commercial team within Waymap. We're an engineering heavy house because the technology is fundamentally complicated. And over the first 4 to 5 years of our journey, we've really been focused on technology. But now we want to build the team that can attack the market opportunity that has presented itself, not just over the last 12 months, but we always have known is there.
Celso, fascinating story. Many thanks for joining me today.